Hey everyone, my name is Tony and welcome back to another video. This is part 2 of Artisan Essential Tools, where we showcase some of the best features in Artisan. So let's dive in. So the Make Planar tool allows you to flatten selected vertices to a specific plane. This tool is very useful for creating flat surfaces, straightening curves, and improving organic shapes. And in the example of this landscape, sometimes you just need a perfectly level surface to create your design or to create a landscape feature. So if I go over to my top view, I'm going to make a selection around this side of the landscape. And as you can see, it covers a very uneven part of the surface. And when you activate Make Planar, you can now flatten this to a specific plane and level. It's important to note that whatever level or height you set the cursor to, that's where you will level the vertices. For example, I can come up on the blue axis, click, so everything goes up to that level. And ideally, this is not what I want to do, so I'm going to undo. Once again, once you undo, a great thing about the Artisan selection tool is that it maintains your last selection. So we can repeat this again. And this time, I'm going to keep it somewhere around this height. Use the arrow keys to set this on the blue axis and click to flatten my surface. Now you can also do this with soft selection, which to me gives you a much better result. So repeat the selection tool, and this time you can see that we are in hard selection mode. So press tab to switch to soft selection mode, and we can make a selection on this side. Once again, you can set a custom radius or use the arrow keys to increase or decrease the radius. And I'm just going to make a click right here to make a selection. We can make this a little bigger by expanding the radius. And now we can activate Make Planar, set this on the blue axis, and as I click, you can see that my landscape starts to change. And ultimately, everything is going to level around that point, as the flat surface is more obvious in the center and less noticeable around the edges because of the fall off effect. Now let's suppose I wanted to connect both of these two surfaces. So I'll go to my top view and use lasso select to create a very custom selection path from one surface to the next. Now let's activate the Artisan selection tool, and we can use soft selection to make a few adjustments. Once you're set, activate Make Planar. I'll use this surface, set it on the blue axis, and click to make that path straight. And as you can see, it gives me a straight path from one surface to the next. Once again, you can refine this as much as you want, but you get the idea of how useful the Make Planar tool can be. Next, we have the reducer brush. This tool reduces polygon count and simplifies a high poly exactly where you need it without wrecking the actual shape. If we take a look at our landscape, we can consider this somewhat high poly, but you can actually use the reducer brush to simplify this even further. Let's take a look. So let's activate the reducer brush. We can adjust the brush settings if we need to, or you can also use the modifier keys to make any adjustments. And once you're ready, you can start to simplify the areas that are less critical in your model. So I'm going to focus outside of the areas that are flattened. You could probably use this to scatter some vegetations, so it doesn't really need to be high poly. So if you model landscape quite often, you know how easy you can increase the file size with the level of detail that you add. So this is a great tool to help optimize your file for performance. Next, we have the knife Subdivide tool, which lets you cut new geometry across selected faces. The cuts you make with this tool are integrated into the quad-based mesh, which is very important for keeping the model smooth when subdivided. So in the case of this shape, we have a lot of non-planar quad faces, and I'm going to use the knife tool to cut new faces onto this shape. So with the tool selected, I'm going to click on one point. And on the blue axis, I'll hold Shift and snap to another corner to create my first cut. And if I highlight my shape, you can see that I now have two non-planar faces that are divided by that cut. As long as you click between 2 points, it will cut everything in that face. Notice that the cut is only on the front face, but if you wanted to cut through the back faces, so activate knife subdivide, but this time hold the Alt key so it cuts through the back faces. And if you look behind our shape, you can see that the back faces were cut as well. Once again, this tool supports quad subdivision, so it remains smooth when it's subdivided. Now, the bridge tool is one of the quickest way you can connect two shapes together in SketchUp. It's a very useful feature for creating things like tunnels, holes, or any kind of organic connection between two shapes. So in this example, we have two buildings and we'll create a tunnel to connect them both around the mid floors. Now, the first thing you need are two open edge loops with the same number of segments. As you can see, when you have two open loops with different number of segments, the tool will not work the way it's intended to. So for this example, I have these two in a group, which should be very easy to connect. So let's select both edges, activate the bridge tool, and this is what you get. Now right away here on the corner, you can see that there are 12 divisions, 0 twists, and interpolation is set to linear. So if you press the up and down key, you can increase on the divisions. You can press the left and right keys to change the number of twists. And you can press Alt to change the interpolation. So you can use a combination of these three settings to create the best possible connections. Suppose we end up with something like this. It would definitely make for a very interesting tunnel experience. But hopefully from this example, you can see how easy it is to connect two shapes with the Artisan Bridge tool. And that's going to be all for this series. Hopefully you've watched part 1. If not, there'll be a link somewhere in the description. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know which one is your favorite feature in Artisan 2, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.